The term general category can be brought in as far as the committees are concerned. But will that be enough? I'm not too sure. In the Hindi heartland, especially UP, Bihar, the backwards politically rule the roost. Dharmendra, Pradhan, or any minister for that matter, on his own can bring about such a law. This is not some kind of a Tughlaki Farman which you can bring overnight,
The court has asked the government to do this.
Nobody should have any problem with something that exists that brings about equity. I think it points to a much greater sense of insecurity among upper castes. If you recall, the whole issue of doing away with reservations was flagged as a central campaign issue by members of the BJP, particularly upper caste members of the BJP. This kind of insecurity or distrust or fear can lead to a conflagration that people cannot arrest, that is very difficult to put down.
Like experiments in hate politics are a dangerous experiment. We see that lives are lost.
Apart from societal repercussions, there will be political repercussions also. Have a look, who are the professors? Most of these people are from upper caste, so they will naturally be taken in. But people are not willing to accept that.
Hello and welcome. You're watching me, Sanket Upadhyay, on TheFederal. The show is called AI with Sanket. This is the AI not as you know it. This is the AI of news. Because news in India today requires not artificial but analytical intelligence. On this show this evening, we are going to talk about the UGC guidelines. As we told you, it's going to be an ongoing series. Today, we are going to look at the political fallout of this policy change, this decision change. The BJP is under immense pressure from its own supporters to roll back the UGC equity guidelines. Will the central government do it? And if at all they do, is this going to upset a big chunk of vote bank of the SC, ST, OBC in the many upcoming state assembly elections? You've got Assam, Tamil Nadu, you have Uttar Pradesh coming up in the next year, you've got West Bengal. Is that going to upset the BJP's arithmetic and calculation politically? What will the central government do now is the big question. And if they don't roll back the UGC guidelines, will these so-called supporters of the central government who are up in arms against the central government's decision pull the rug from under the central government's feet or not support the BJP? Politically, what is going to happen? This is going to be the topic of discussion today. So what is going to be the political impact of the UGC equity guidelines? I have with me two extremely senior and seasoned journalists who track each and every move and what its implications may be, with the benefit of knowing a lot from the past, and especially how caste-based politics works in this country. Is this a compulsion for the Bharatiya Janata Party, and can the BJP, have the BJP now reached a point where it is a point of no return? You can't take this back. You're headed for an election in Uttar Pradesh. Javed Ansari, senior journalist, as well as senior journalist Aditi Phadnis, thank you very much for joining us. I would like to know your views one by one. Ms. Phadnis, to you first. What do you think the political impact of this backlash to the equity decision? What do you make of it?
Well, to put it in one sentence, it's a poison chalice. हिंदी में कहावत है, उगलते भी नहीं बनता, निगलते भी नहीं बनता. So the question is now, you have taken a decision based on many incidents which have happened in the past, where university administrations have been charged with the discrepancies and caste discrimination. As a result of that, Radhika Vemula, the mother of Rohit Vemula, approached court to say that the policies of the Hyderabad University had led to his exclusion, Rohit Vemula's exclusion from certain exams, and therefore had sealed his career in academics. As a result of that, he committed suicide, and in his suicide note, he charged the discriminatory policies as one of the reasons that motivated him to commit suicide. What was the government going to do about it? The Supreme Court ordered the University Grants Commission to frame certain guidelines in relation to discrimination, fears of discrimination against students. The UGC framed those guidelines under the leadership of, at that time, Jagdish Kumar, who was Vice Chancellor of JNU. Now he was replaced. I mean, he retired and he was replaced by another person. Jagdish Kumar in himself is quite a controversial individual with a proven track record of being fully affiliated with the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. So the guidelines were notified, and those regulations were notified, and a system created by which children who were studying, students who were studying in these universities, could approach a committee to address issues of equity. And because of that, now we have a problem of a backlash from upper castes who fear that these issues may be used against them in the coming days. This is the problem in a nutshell. I could be wrong about some details, but I think this is the larger problem.
Yeah,
The question is,
Mr.
where do
Javed
we go?
Ansari, coming to you, you see, a lot of aware members, former members of the UGC, like Mr. Yogendra Yadav, in an interview, they say this is much ado about nothing. It's like the whites saying that we fear persecution. It's like, the upper castes are fearing something on a rule which has been brought by their own government, and according to Mr. Yogendra Yadav, much of the people who are protesting or who are seen protesting are cheerleaders of the government, are supporters of this very government. He concludes that this is very much a government manufactured dissent because the government was forced by the Supreme Court to formulate these guidelines.
Look, Sanket, prima facie, there is absolutely no doubt that the ones who are out on the street, the ones who are protesting most vociferously are the upper castes. And ironically, they were till yesterday the ones who were accused of oppressing the lower castes and others. Now, there is a sense of being let down as well. This was their government. This government has come to power riding on the support, on their support base, and now they feel let down by their own. As far as what Mr. Yogendra Yadav said, look, the main problem is this problem can be addressed. You had in your question said something about the fact, can they walk back on this? Well, they can amend this. They can insert the like Dharmendra Yadav hinted yesterday, the general category, the term general category can be brought in as far as the committees are concerned, and also discrimination, not just against, it won't be, as far as inserting the term general categories as being amongst those who are oppressed is concerned, that will be politically a contentious issue. Because let's face it, this has not been brought only because the Supreme Court has done it. There are political undertones to this also. Uttar Pradesh will be going to polls in the Hindi heartland, especially UP, Bihar, the Dust Bowl of India. The backwards politically rule the roost, and therefore they cannot nullify this entirely without upsetting them and without the fear of losing their political support base. So the government has to do a very tight rope walk. Perhaps from what I gather from government sources, the way out they're looking for is inserting the term general categories as far as the composition of the grievance committees are concerned. But will that be enough? Will that be enough to assuage the anger and the feeling of being let down that the upper classes are suffering from? I'm not too sure, because if you look at those who are protesting, the ones most vociferous, the ones most upfront are the ones who were till yesterday the cheerleaders of this government. If you look at TV channels, all I was watching was those same faces who were till yesterday, throttling people who had a contrarian view. And today, now, they've suddenly found everything wrong with Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan. And it's amazing that Dharmendra Pradhan is being made to carry the can, as if to say Dharmendra Pradhan, or any minister for that matter, on his own can bring about such a law. There is a process. This is a gazette, government gazette. It has to be vetted by the government, by the higher ups in the government. It goes through an entire process. No minister on his own can bring about. This is not some kind of a Tughlaki Farman which you can bring overnight, So if fault has to be found, it must come from all those who okayed this. And it goes to the very top. Was this done? Can this be done without the nod, without the approval of the Prime Minister and the other senior ministers?
You are suggesting that Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan has suddenly, only yesterday, discovered that he is a very, very important and esteemed member who can take decisions on his own, defying the diktat or defying the concerns of the supporters of his own party.
Sanket, I'm saying exactly the opposite. Those who are criticizing Dharmendra Pradhan, the BJP's cheerleaders who have now suddenly discovered Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan as to be the villain of the piece, they somehow have convinced themselves that he is the one, that this is he's the one who's authored this entirely. It cannot be. It cannot be a unilateral decision. These things, there is a process for this. Aditi will educate us more on this. There is a process for this. It has to be vetted. It has to be cleared by the very high up. So if I don't believe it's Dharmendra Pradhan, it has come from the Prime Minister. It has come from senior minister. They have vetted this. Dharmendra Pradhan.
No, more importantly, it's come from the Supreme Court. The fact that the 2012 guidelines did not satisfy the Supreme Court, the matter went to court. The court has asked the government to do this.
Asked the government to do this, and therefore the government has done it. And the provisions must have been vetted and then approved by all those who matter in the government.
Fair enough. Aditi Phadnis, just coming back to you, before we go back to the political impact, there are two main clauses of the new equity guidelines that are in contention. That is the crux of the matter. This is the basis of the protest which is taking place by pro-government voices who are opposing a decision of their own government. One is provision section 3(1)(c). This regulation says its aim is to eradicate discrimination only on the basis of religion, race, gender, place of birth, caste or disability, particularly against the members of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, socially and educationally backward classes, economically weaker sections and persons with disabilities, and to promote full equity and inclusion among the stakeholders in higher educational institutions. Aditi Phadnis, nowhere in section 3(1)(c) does it say that it is exclusively to protect SC, ST, OBC. It says that you will be protected from discrimination on the basis of religion, race, gender, place of birth, caste, disability. Particularly, exclusively and particularly are two totally different words in the English language. Aditi Phadnis.
So this is what is so confusing, and Javed brought it out very well. There is no problem. I mean, nobody should have any problem with something that exists that brings about equity, right? I don't think upper caste should have a problem if the problems of women or the issues of equity among lower castes or the issue of equity among lower income groups are raised. After all, the government has already addressed many of the contentions and many of the fears of the upper caste by including the economic criteria in reservations. This was introduced, as you know, and included weaker sections among upper castes some years ago. I think it points to a much greater sense of insecurity among upper castes, which has actually been manifested itself many times, and has shown that their own party, or the party that they feel they are closest to, the Bharatiya Janata Party, was overthrown and in many ways pushed back by issues relating to equity, particularly in the last Lok Sabha elections. If you recall, the whole issue of doing away with reservations was flagged as a central campaign issue by members of the BJP, particularly upper caste members of the BJP. Although there was no such thing on the horizon, as the Home Minister and the Prime Minister repeatedly clarified. And yet, in Maharashtra and in other places, the BJP's tally in the Lok Sabha elections came down from 303 to 240. And the Congress's tally went up from 45 to 91 or thereabouts. So, this issue of insecurity, caste insecurity, has been dogging the government and has been dogging the upper caste for some time now, despite the government's best efforts to look as if it is not a pro upper caste or a pro caste entity. This issue has also been flagged by RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, who has repeatedly said that they are not, casteist, and that caste is abhishap. It's a slur on Hindu society.
It's a
So, I
curse.
mean, there are wheels within wheels, but we do know one thing. Those of us like Javed and me who are old enough to have seen the Mandal agitation do know that this kind of insecurity or distrust or fear can lead to a conflagration that people cannot arrest, that is very difficult to put down. And I think that is what we have to be most afraid of.
I think this is a very, very significant point. Mr. Javed Ansari, do you feel that right now, assuming that this is some sort of a political experiment, do you feel that it is a very dangerous political experiment? Like experiments in hate politics are a dangerous experiment. We see that lives are lost. A certain section of the population turns against another section of the population, ends up killing them. Hate against Muslims, hate against minorities, hate against caste-based minorities is a very, very difficult situation. You won't be able to arrest these things. And then you will shirk the blame also.
Once you let the genie out of the bottle, like Aditi was referring to, it's very difficult to contain it. The collateral damage is immense, and it takes years for society to recover from it. Having said that, look, it also flies in the face of what the BJP's ideological masters have been saying, that, we are one, that there is no division within our society, that batoge to katoge, so stay together. Some have put it very crudely, this batoge to katoge. Others, like the RSS chief, has said that, we are one society, and there is, this caste is a curse, and we should erase all these barriers. A small government gazette has laid bare the contradictions, within. And therefore, this will open the floodgates. This has, laid bare the divisions within society, and there will be, apart from societal repercussions, there will be political repercussions also. And for the UP is going to the polls in 2 years' time. Of course, 2 years is a very long time in politics, but for now, it is created. Apart from opening up this
actually less than 12 months, Mr. Ansari. Okay, it's February 2027 when UP elections happen. So it's actually less than 12 months.
Less than 12 months. Then it's all the more. It's an all the more precarious situation for the government, for the ruling party in the state. And this is a double-edged sword. It can go either ways. You can politically experiment with all these things, but how do you contain this kind of anger? Will they be mollified just by the fact of what Dharmendra Pradhan says, that we insert the term general category in these redressal committees? Will that be enough to assuage them? And if they insert the term general category, even when they mention the fact that this is for against discrimination for backward caste, EBCs, etc., then that whole purpose, many believe, will be defeated. So I hope they have thought this out and taken this step forward, because this is very significant, and it can cut both ways. And this will hurt. This will hurt, and there are going to be repercussions, because as we've seen in Mandal, after the aftermath of the Mandal Commission report, it took a very long time for society to recover and for those fissures to heal. But it appears that it's just skin deep. You scratch and it's out in the open. You see the kind of reactions even from senior leaders. It's very vociferous.
But Javed Ansari, what do you have to say about this section 3(1)(c), which does not say that this is a law which has been brought in exclusively to protect members of the SC, ST, OBC community? I mean, I'm reading the text and it is very, very clear. It says particularly. Particularly is not the same as exclusively. These two words mean, I don't understand the logic.
So people are not willing to distinguish the fine print, to read the fine print. You see, they are not willing to. The upper classes feel that the very fact that we have been omitted, we've not been mentioned even obliquely, means that this is exclusive. This is not inclusive in nature.
But Mr. Ansari, they have been mentioned. You see, it says that SC, ST, OBC, educationally backward classes, economically weaker sections. Now, this will include members of the upper caste also, who are economically weak.
No, they're not satisfied with that. That's enough for them. That's not enough for them. Just as weaker sections and backwards are mentioned, they want that upper caste, upper classes also ought to be mentioned. They are not satisfied. They forget the fact that the redressal committees will be manned by vice chancellors. Okay, of the 42 or 43 vice chancellors in this country, the 38 are from upper caste. It will also comprise of the top 3 professors in these universities. Have a look. Who are the professors? How many backward caste, scheduled caste people are amongst the top 3? Very few. The majority is that most of these people are from upper caste. So they will naturally be taken in. But people are not willing to accept that. They're not willing to trust that. They feel that it must be mentioned clearly, in clear, bold terms, and therefore the government will need to, let's see what is how they walk back on this, or what amendments they make. Dharmendra Pradhan has hinted, but for now, a new element has suddenly been reintroduced into the body politic.
Correct. Aditi Phadnis, you mentioned a fantastic point, and let's spend the next couple of minutes on that point. Both you and Javed, I'll ask the same question of both of you. You mentioned the impact of BJP MPs mentioning changing of the constitution, it being construed as reservation going, and it being seen as anti-SC, ST, OBC, and its impact particularly in Uttar Pradesh, where the tally of the BJP went down in the big state. Cut to 2026, a similar sounding situation has emerged, and you have UP elections less than 12 months away. Do you feel that there is going to be a direct impact, and thus whatever political experiment this may be, it could actually be harakiri? There are many political pundits who feel that this could also be a result of a center versus state, Yogi versus Modi fight, where you want the political fortunes to tilt in such a way that Yogi doesn't come to power? I mean, all sorts of conspiracy theories, but what do you think?
So these are 5 or 6 questions, not just one question. First of all, just to amplify what Javed said, it's true that a majority of the vice chancellors in Indian universities are upper caste. It's true that our educational system is dominated by upper caste. But I was startled to hear this being voiced by a vice chancellor of no less than Jawaharlal Nehru University, Dr. Pandit, who is VC of JNU. Recently, in a public address, and recordings are available with Doordarshan and other agencies as well, said quite bluntly that she was grateful to Ramnath Kovind, who happened to be the chief guest at this occasion, for allowing her, not just a woman, but also a lower caste woman, to become a vice chancellor of JNU. I found this rather odd, because vice chancellor should be appointed not on the basis of any other extraneous reasons, but on the basis of their educational achievements. Uh, I mean, that is what you're supposed to do as a vice chancellor: educate people. Uh, but I found it rather startling that she should have referred to this as one of the reasons why she was so proud of being vice chancellor of JNU, which leads us to the inescapable conclusion that caste exists everywhere, and the caste identity is just lurks just below the skin. Therefore, when you talk about adding the privileges, caste privileges, to an existing system, or taking away caste privileges in the existing system, it introduces a shock to the system, which causes all kinds of reverberations, which are very difficult to control then. And this is what we are seeing happening. If the BJP dilutes, and I use the word dilutes in inverted commas, if it dilutes the current provision of the UGC, then also it is in trouble, because obviously the scheduled castes, the minorities, gender-based discrimination will then, people who advocate these issues will then feel that the BJP is going back on its word. If it makes it general category, then the general categories may not be entirely satisfied with what is offered, but others will attack the BJP for compromising on that issue. So, I mean, either way, it's both ways you lose. So the question is, how do you address this with sensitivity? Uh, as I pointed out earlier, the issue of taking away caste and reservation based benefits in the last general election showed its very clear effect on the tally of the ruling government. Uh, Now, as you say, the UP elections are about just over a month away, just over a year away. And what we are going to see in UP, how we are going to see the distortion of this argument that there should be equity uh, in a very charged political scenario, well, we have to see. I don't know how it will translate. It's very hard to say at this point.
But Javed Ansari, do you feel what decision should be easier on the BJP right now? If they afford to upset the upper caste, will that hurt them more in the elections or in a state like Uttar Pradesh? Or if they change this equity guideline now to include the general caste also and upset the SC, ST, OBC, what will damage the BJP's prospects more, keeping 2024 Lok Sabha as a perspective in mind?
Look, in pure arithmetic term, mathematical terms, the OBC are far greater in number than the upper caste. You know, so you need to decide whether you want to upset 82% or you want to upset 18%. Now, but these are not monolithic groups. No? Nobody votes entirely. It's not as if all OBCs vote in one direction, all Muslims vote in one direction, or all upper caste vote. But largely, broadly speaking, we know where their political loyalties lie. So it's going to be a very tough task. They'll need to do it. Be very deft and very careful in how they play this. Maybe the fact that now that they've brought this issue has been raised in the public sphere, they may try and restate the steps that a very, let me say, a very conspiratorial mind will think that, okay, we've raised this, we brought it into the public sphere. This now we'll insert that general category term, and whatever gains were to be made politically remain, and we'll try and assuage this. And we've done enough to cut the ground from under Baba's feet. Now let's try and limit we'll bring this, we'll reinsert or insert the general category term and see how it plays out. But this is very difficult. I mean, this is all, we are just thinking ahead, not really knowing how this will play out, because on the ground, once divisions come to the fore, it's not a switch where you can turn off, turn on.
Also, with more than 12 months, with under 12 months left, there are so many other arrows in the quiver. So this is just from the perspective right now.
This is the first one. But what we do know is that apart from this backward forward, this business, which we thought we had buried in the past, now there is more than enough evidence to suggest that there is credence to what was being spoken of in drawing rooms and in political circles of this ongoing tussle between the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh and certain people here at the center on life once Mr. Modi decides to relinquish.
Well, again, we do not know what happens in that situation. So far, there has been no sign of that problem arising. So it's a problem for another day. Thank you very much, Javed Ansari and Aditi Phadnis, for joining us. Thank you so much.